What's up, everyone? DJ Nubis here with you on the Meltdown Radio podcast with another Kaiju Spotlight segment. And tonight, special guest, Nick Arden from the Monster Report. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Very good to be here on the show and good to talk with you again, Anubis, because we talked not too long ago on Brendan Morley's Autistic Lizard show about the Mummy, and we had a great talk. And of course, being Kaiju fans, we also like other monsters like that, so it's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. I'd always heard about your channel before that, and finally getting to meet you and everything, we decided to set this up, which is really cool because I always love talking with other Kaiju and Godzilla fans. So I know you've been doing the Monster Report for a while. So with that, since most people probably may not know who you are through my channel, why don't you give us a breakdown of who you are, what the Monster Report is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. The Monster Report's a show on YouTube. Of course, we have been doing this since 2014 when the legendary Godzilla came out. I kind of started with a few reviews, and there was that moment when Gareth Edwards, the director of Godzilla 2014, asked people, make it look like Godzilla's in your hometown, which I got this little town, 2 steps, Godzilla's already through it. But what was cool about it, I was working at the schools at that time in a television and radio production, studio that was through the school. We had students. I asked them if they wanted to help me out with this video. It wasn't for a class project. It was just to have some fun and learn something about filmmaking and editing. And we put Godzilla in my little town of Union City, and it kind of went a little bit viral, which I was pretty happy about. Legendary Pictures is to thank for that because they retweeted it. When I didn't even have Twitter. I was a Facebook guy. I didn't even have Instagram. I was just like, well, I got Facebook and YouTube. I'm good. And then someone told me you got to get on Twitter so you can check this out. And I thought they were like lying, or it was, a spam or a bot. No, it was official Legendary. So, and I was just like, oh man, this is gonna be good. So it kind of skyrocketed that video. I wish all my videos had the views that did.
Right.
But I'll take it, and I appreciate the fan base that this is kind of like, brought me to. Got the chance to go to G-Fest a few times and other cons and interview some people, met some, people from, the movies. And that's always been cool to, we can talk about some of that as we go along. But yeah. I've always been into video production and built the studio here at home. My kids are part of it too, and we enjoy monsters. We love collectibles, obviously, and we love the music, everything about it, the comic books, anything Kaiju related, and of course, even beyond that, Universal monsters, British monsters, Korean monsters. We love them all, especially the giant monsters.
Yep. Yeah, so I had started doing these Kaiju spotlights probably about almost a year ago, or at least the last few months. And initially I'd done one on Godzilla. I kind of thought I was just going to stand with each Kaiju as I went along, but I got pressure from the other collaborators that I work with that they wanted to go and do different eras of Godzilla and versions of Godzilla. So I was okay, I'll make an exception there. So I decided to do this one with you because this is obviously, for me, my favorite version of Godzilla, the favorite look, how it came across on screen. I remember seeing G2000 for the first time and just falling in love with how the glow of the fins looked when he turns orange, and it's just amazing. So for you, how does this particular version of Godzilla stack up to you in terms of your favorite look or design from Godzilla?
I'll say this, my favorite hands down is 84, 85. I love that design. That was the one I started with. So I always got to go back to my first love, which was 84, 85. I was, 3-4 years old or so. And I remember being scared. Of course, as the video rental store, you go into there. Yeah. We're of that era. We remember the video rental stores, I'm sure. And it was like, man, I rented it so many times, and every other Godzilla movie they had in there, so many times I pretty much bought it. So I, when it even went out of business, I bought every Godzilla, movie they had VHS tape before they went out of business. Wow. But yeah, it was so cool to see Godzilla released theatrically again. I absolutely love the fact that this Godzilla design is hunched forward, which is more along the lines of what you would think of a lizard dinosaur kind of creature. So they definitely, hit a mark there. It's not that I don't mind an upright, more standing Thunder Thighs style Godzilla where he's, tromping through the streets like a man with our classic Haru Nakajima playing him, and Kenpachiro Satsuma playing him in the Heisei series. But this one, I've always said, if you had to pick a Godzilla movie to show somebody that may have been unfamiliar with Godzilla, with the IP, they want to be entertained, and they just they don't want to have a whole lot of backstory. They don't need to know the characters because, we as Kaiju fans already know canon in a Godzilla movie, like canon in Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or any of those, IPs, Harry Potter, canon in Godzilla is kind of out the window. It's like, every one of them almost could be standalone films. There's a few exceptions to that, but not many. And even those exceptions have some weirdness with them. But this is one of those all encompassing, just perfect Godzilla movies. It's got everything that you ask for. Godzilla versus the military solo, and Godzilla fighting a monster, which is, everything we wanted and didn't really get in the TriStar 98 Godzilla. Zilla, as we.
So, I had just read that apparently Dean Devlin and them were going to try to do a sequel to 98, and they were going to actually try to come back to this style, I guess, of Godzilla, but for whatever reason, the finances fell through and they just couldn't do anything, which probably, thankfully, they didn't, because it was probably right for Toho to take it back and say, well, guys, we don't mind you doing that, but that's not Godzilla. We got to fix this.
That was cute. Good try.
Yeah. But it was interesting because about 2 years ago, Neko and I, my wife, we made it to our very first G-Fest. And we met some other Kaiju fans and collaborators that we've been talking with over on internet and YouTube and stuff. So I'm sure with your collection and everything, I went and got this, of course. And then I ended up picking up this much larger version, which I just had to have because, that's just me.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, more recently, I picked up this one here. It actually has the orange going on there with that. But yeah, easy to say that's one of my favorite designs from G2000.
Yeah. I love those crazy long dorsal fins. Yep. I love that he's got the huge mouth, better for biting his enemies, which he gets into that, which is awesome. And same thing with Megan Jarvis, the sequel to this, where he, starts getting into the idea that those teeth are a weapon too. So, I think that's pretty awesome. And the collectibles, are those like the Bandais, or what brands are those guys?
This larger one, I don't remember. Like I just, from the guy that I got it from, I'm not really sure. I know the other two I have are Bandai, but this one I'm not really sure because I don't think it had a tag when I actually bought it. But
well, it's a pretty sweet one. Yeah.
And
that crazy long tail.
Nice detail. Even has like almost auburn, you can't really see it there, but a little bit auburn glassy eye, which is really nice with it. So I was pretty pleased because initially when I bought this other one, some friends of mine were like, man, that's kind of small for a G2000. You should get like a bigger one. I said, okay, challenge accepted.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. If you want to talk collectibles, I can show off some real quick, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, man. Bring it. See it.
And I actually realized that I had one up there that I'm going to grab real quick, and I just have to leave the chair for just a second.
Sure. You're good.
All right, how organized I am, I swear sometimes. But I'll go with the kind of the best for last, or best for first. I'm sorry. So we got the theater exclusive.
Oh,
Godzilla 2000 got his tag there.
That's cool.
Cool Sofubi with that crazy bright orange glow to him, and always kind of liked, some of the stylized versions, not all. Sometimes they can go a little off the wall, but yeah, this one was a pretty good find that I found actually just at a toy show in Ohio. And I couldn't believe the price that he had on it, and it's in great shape. And I was just like, man, that one stands out on the shelf. So gotta have me that one.
Yeah.
Huge fan of physical media. So a bootleg copy of Godzilla
wow.
2000.
I like that cover too. That is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy that these kind of go out there, with some of the English language, even though this is the Japanese version. You occasionally know that it's a bootleg because it's got some English language in there, but the back is all, in the kanji and such. But, it's not that I pop this one in that often because we have DVD, Blu-ray, streaming, but, it's still cool for the shelf to have physical media.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then, courtesy of Seismic Toys, this was actually a gift to me during one of my birthdays of since the Monster Report began in 2014. I don't remember exactly what year this was, but I know that my wife knew that Chris Olio from Seismic Toys is a great seller, and she's like, his collection, so you also know what he doesn't have and what he might like. And so she worked, the magic to get this guy in, and I was just like blown away.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. So the X Plus version 2, they did do 2 different versions of this. This is based on a model kit design, and I just love everything about the fact that this design gave him those neck, lizard-like scales and wideness to it.
So, I was gonna say the scale, like the scales on the sides, are very detailed. I like that. Very attention to detail.
The best X Pluses. Yeah, I mean, my goodness, X Plus doesn't. They don't disappoint, and they don't disappoint with the price too sometimes. But my goodness, I was just like, he takes up a lot of real estate with that crazy long tail too. But you can't deny that those dorsal fins, coming at you, and that scene where they have the water, the wave coming at you with the dorsal fins was really showing off what Tokusatsu could do, kind of showing, Emmerich and Devlin, Sony, TriStar, that the king is back and he is a Japanese IP. And this is how you do a proper Godzilla movie.
Exactly. So you basically, obviously, when they did G2000, it started like a whole new version of Godzilla, the Millennium series, of course, and they did like the overhaul with the look a little bit after the Heisei and all that. So for yourself, like when you first saw, obviously, G2000, did you like it how the changes they made to it initially?
Yeah, I was fine with it. I did, kind of expect to see where in the lore, again, I know that I had to just kind of let that go, but I would have been pleased to know if it was somewhere along the lines of, the backstory of one of the Godzilla movies. What did it go back to the original? Did it, was this somehow Godzilla Jr. from Destroya, the end of Destroya, reborn? He doesn't look the same, but they changed Godzilla enough. But when I was digging into it, I was like, they're not going to explain it. And then when I watched the Japanese version, I was hoping to maybe get some origin explanation, and I didn't. But it's okay, because again, it was one of those that I can put on anytime, watch with the kids, because even the danger, it's slapstick kind of danger where someone about gets crushed, and then at the last minute is slapstick style Three Stooges saved by sheer luck and script writing. So so this one, I could have done with maybe less of the comedy. I really enjoy how this is lit too. I think that the sets and the way they're lit, yes, we got some Godzilla during the daytime, but I really love him in the nighttime. I think battle in the city at night is just what Godzilla is meant for. And, when you can get some of those those really dynamic colors on him through lighting. They did an amazing job with this. Now in the VHS tapes, yeah, there was times it was kind of hard to see just because of the quality of VHS. You know, when I started getting, you know, the HD copies, Blu-ray and things, it did kind of shed a new light and a new appreciation for this movie. So there was, you know, aspects of it that you might have missed before. And so that was nice to see, actually, to see him in that new light. Kind of disappointed that they didn't continue with this Goji as a storyline. Everything pretty much became its own standalone, with one exception, against Mechagodzilla to Tokyo SOS. But that's all you get. That's all you get, Godzilla fans.
Yeah, it is interesting because, you know, again, I don't know. Whenever I talk to other Godzilla fans, you know, they like this movie a little bit, but then they really dislike Orga, like the villain monster. And so, like, I always thought it was kind of unfair. I mean, Orga is not the fanciest; he's not Ghidorah or anything like that, but he's pretty unique for himself in terms of a villain kaiju. So I never thought it was quite as bad as people wanted to make it out to be.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This is one of the very few Godzilla movies where all the monsters, you know, listed aren't in the title. Now, in the Japanese version, sometimes they just kind of throw a bunch of the titles, the kaiju names in the title, because you'll actually see sometimes where they almost do the GMK thing. Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out attack. Oh yeah, also starring Baragon. But it's like, you know, they would throw the names in the title for the fact that you know that he's going to fight other monsters, or he's going to be teaming up with other monsters. Destroy All Monsters gave you the idea that you're going to see multiple monsters. But as a versus film, you know, it's got the blending of that. So Orga kind of falls short in the sort of way that he didn't get his marquee moment. There, you know, that said, that VHS bootleg said Godzilla versus Orga, but that's hardly the that's hardly the plot of the movie, and it's part of it. But you know, that's where you kind of say this monster either, you know, had better really have a great origin or continuation, something. Now, there is more in the manga, which I have not read, on Godzilla and Orga and the aliens, which he is essentially an alien, the millennia, as we call them. And there's even more story behind Io and her father, which I'm blanking on his name right now, but yes, him, you know, the main character that we have of the Godzilla Production Network. And so, yeah, there's more backstory as to Io's mother and how she passed away, and a lot more backstory, you know, with the alien interaction. These aliens in the film, of course, are largely invisible to us.
Yeah, that's a good thing you point out. So, like that thing here I showed you, like, it's kind of funny because Neko and I actually have stickers of this on our cars because we're a big fan of the whole network. And, you know, it's almost like the zombie squad, apocalypse squad type thing. But you bring up a good point. So when you talk about like the storyline and how, you know, it could have gone a bit more further back, and the manga covers some of that, you know, -1 is probably one of the best stories I've seen for a Godzilla film in many, many years. Do you think in your own mind, like, Toho is probably going to lean that way more going forward, where they actually try to give Godzilla stories more depth, or do you think they'll eventually go back to some of the more campier stuff?
I really hope that they stick with the more human story driven Godzilla. You were following the human characters in -1. You felt for them. When they hurt, you hurt. And I think Yamazaki is one to tell the human story very well, and that's what's kind of lacked in other Godzilla movies. Not that that diminishes the enjoyment of giant monsters fighting, but to see this one in the period piece, it's definitely got to have that human story. When even James Cameron said, when he describes Titanic, the movie, yes, we might say, oh, hated it. Oh, you know, it was great. One of the greatest films of all time, whatever. It's like, it's mixed on that, but he had the idea correct. It's a love story. It's the human story. The ship is a character, but it's secondary to the humans. And so we want to follow along with our human characters because we identify with them, we become them in the films. If you're a good director and you can flesh out their story and give them all the resources they need to really shine. If they're reading campy lines, if they're reading a lot of in jokes for the fandom, that's little winks and nods, that's fine. And that makes a fun movie. But I would appreciate Yamazaki going forward to keep with his theme, whether he's got Godzilla fighting another monster or not. I think he will keep with that very serious tone that he's already known for in many of his films. And I think he's just killing it with what he's got. I think Toho's got a blue chip director there, and I think they're going to give him the reins and let him cook.
I hope so, because I'm looking forward to the sequel, and so if he's going to bring back one or two kaiju along with Godzilla, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'd be really interested in what he does. But like you said, I hope that Toho says, you know what, you're going to be our guy. You're going to be our Honda going forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you had another good point about G2000 is it does get a little bit too much comedic in there with the little girl and the reporter. But the one dynamic that I really did like was the father and the former guy that he was friends with, the military guy that at the end, of course, is, yelling Godzilla and then has his demise. But I thought that was a really good story. And that's one where I would say that if they would have gone deeper with the plot, I would have liked to know a little bit more about that backstory, because they seem to still have a respect for one another despite the differences they also had. So I always thought that was a very interesting dynamic between those two.
Yeah, and I've already looked them up so I could remember. You look in the filing cabinet sometimes and you hit error 404 and you're like, what was his name? Shinoda, of course, the main character, and we had Katagiri, who was leading the military, and all those operations, more of an antagonistic role. And the kind of big bully to Shinoda. I mean, he had some moments of true evil there in this, but there was that idea of respect. Shinoda even, was willing to jump in and try to save Katagiri when he's face to face with Godzilla. It's like, could anyone of us say that we would do that in the face of a giant monster that close to him? Beyond the fact that you're probably getting a lethal dose of radiation anyways. But given that this is a movie, we'll just say that they're going to be fine. So that was interesting. And of course, Katagiri is the sort of villain you kind of love to hate. His voice in the English version, my goodness, it's so quotable at times, and you can hear the Clint Eastwood almost kind of impression that they were trying to come up with. But he's a great actor in other films that he's been into, and he's got really, I don't know what you want to call it, just demanding eyes. For a Japanese character to act with his eyes the way he does. Shinoda, that actor, has been in other Godzilla films, so he's a seasoned Godzilla actor, been in the Heisei series, some of the other Millennium series as small parts. So he's just an overall solid actor for the series. But he's, and it's funny when I point out to my kids, he was the wormy businessman, in Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth. It was like, no, he's not. I was like, no, put a beard on him. Oh, it is him. Okay, yeah, I get it now. So he got the beard out, and then suddenly he's a full new character. He's an old dad like me. So I think that dynamic was pretty cool between the two of them. A respect, but yet a kind of rivalry. And there's definitely a backstory that makes the two of them interesting characters.
Yeah. And obviously, because after this one, they did Megagirius, which also kind of still ties in the Godzilla 2000 version. How are your feelings on that particular movie and design as well, even though the design's not a far cry from the other one?
Yeah, love that design still. Yeah, sticking with that idea, the hunched forward look, some minor changes to it, but you definitely got him moving the same way. Same suit actor, Tsutomu Kitagawa. Met him, got the chance to interview him at Days of the Dead in Indianapolis,
Oh wow.
which also happened to be the last public appearance of Haru Nakajima, the original Godzilla suit actor, before he passed away. So we did get 2 generations of Godzilla at that con. We were going to have a small interview with Mr. Nakajima, but his health was not good. But he was incredible. His panel was incredible. Great questions, and just a legendary man. Sweetheart. But his health, I just felt, so bad for him, how sick he was and dealing with his just decline. But there was a lot of respect given to him from Kitagawa, being the next generation, or the second next generation, essentially, of Godzilla suit actors after Satsuma. Unfortunately, I never got to meet Satsuma. That's a loss for mine, that I never got the chance to meet him. But Kitagawa would describe wearing the Godzilla suit, this very suit, as 2 grown adults on his shoulders. He'd have trouble breathing in that. He would sweat so much that he would lose weight. Right back to the Nakajima days of that heavy 200+ pound suit. They even ran an oxygen line into it between takes so that he could breathe a little easier. But of course, it had to be removed once he got into when they called action. Yeah. So, but yeah, I love the hunched forward kind of look of that when you see the documentary bringing Godzilla down to size, and you can really see his method of being more hunched forward. And you just see this little Japanese guy, and you're like, man, he could lift those 200 pounds and do the moves he did. I mean, that just had to have been excruciating. And
yeah, and I'm looking at the scales on the back, like those had to be heavy just by themselves.
Made of fiberglass by Shinichi Wakasa. Yeah, so they were definitely on the next level from the more foam kind of style, wobbly. So he did not want Wakasa did not want these dorsal fins to wave around much. I can only tell that it's like the impracticality of large dorsal fins. Good for his intimidation factor, not so good when you get it snagged on mountains and coral reefs and anything else for this sea monster. But it is cool to see that. It is cool to see the fact that his dorsal fins even emit heat, which he uses to his advantage at times. The fight with Megaguirus, and that is incredible. I love the fact that Megaguirus takes advantage of the fact that Godzilla is slow, and of course he's supposed to be, because he's he doesn't need to be fast, but he's got to outwit the big bug. And that was cool to see the wheels spinning in that film, and you could really see that in his eyes too. Even the fact that the eyes sometimes in these kaiju do some acting. They open wide, and they have these kind of moments when they're looking, and it's like, I'm gonna utterly obliterate you right now, or as soon as I get my footing.
Yeah. And I kind of liked that particular movie, like almost had like horror elements to it too, with the younger versions of the Megaguirus, because like they were eating people like humans and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool too.
It was. That's the scene I have to skip when I show this to my kids. Everything about it, they can see, but that scene, I'm just like, I don't need to deal with nightmares with my young kids.
Right.
So, the rest of the tokusatsu, fighting and all that. It is cool to see that, of course, the Megaguirus, being a nod to the Rodan Meganula, and kind of reborn from that. Then, of course, the Millennium series started doing that whole thing where it was just sequels to the original. But yet we're seeing this one. So confusing for some audiences, thinking that this is a sequel to 2000. But again, it's one of those things that you can leave at the door and just be fine with. But yeah, design of this has always been cool. I did like to see that new short film use this design for the burning version of this. You got the chance, I'm sure, to see that short film.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And to see a burning version, a Godzilla vs. Destroya style version of that, overheating and such. I think that was pretty cool to see, kind of a crossover for the Godzilla fans. Of course, short films are what they are. A little too short.
Yeah.
I want more. I
Oh
need
yeah.
more.
Even the one they did like with Godzilla and Gigan, like that was so cool. Like did the updated version, which I thought was really neat.
Yep. Yep. This is a great suit. I also love, just the nose design of him, how it's that snarl kind of look to him as well. This one is definitely one that worked in the close-ups because they did scale him down slightly for 2000 and I say 2000, but it's 99 in Japan.
Yeah.
And
Right,
Megaguirus is 2000 in Japan. So it's like you call it 2000, but did you mean 2000?
It's all confusing.
I know, yeah. But released in 99 in Japan, called 2000, set in the year 2000. But, whatever. I really like that you get some close-ups in this one by scaling him down and putting him in the face of the humans, whether it's the tunnel scene with the car, whether it's the nod to the Ray Harryhausen classic Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, where he's overtaking a lighthouse. I think that was awesome. And, of course, Katagiri at the end. So, yeah, you do get that. And even Megaguirus, we've got someone swimming up to Godzilla and riding his dorsal fins. Again, he's going to be all right. That radiation, I just am like, did we forget about this little problem?
Well, you would think it'd be more problematic throughout all the Godzilla films because, like, think about King of the Monsters for a minute where, Burning Godzilla blows up and I'm like, why is people still standing?
Exactly. Yeah, we got to put the science aside when we watch these films. Just sit back. Yeah, put your brain aside just a little bit. But yeah, even with some of the other films, they try to get that idea of the radiation spike, and even Shin Godzilla had that kind of idea of the that he's toxic in more ways than just his destructive breath and particle beams and everything else that he's got going on. He's emanating the radiation. So, but yeah, this one kind of also rode that line of him being a hero to humanity versus a villain. He was somewhat both.
Yeah.
And I think that was an interesting dynamic. You don't really get that as often. It's either he's really a hero or he's definitely the villain. There was that changeover in Ghidra the three-headed monster, which he started as a villain and then ended as a hero. So I think that was kind of cool. But this one, he flip-flops, he ping-pongs on that one. But yeah, and oh my goodness, one of my favorite shots. I don't know why I don't use this one more often in like trailers and opens, which by the way, your open was awesome. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, the special effects from this film. Yeah, so good. Some of them are, a bit dated. Yeah, some of the composites and CGI, but the shot where the UFO is on top of the building and there is just wave after wave of just energy blasting away of Godzilla, and there's dust particles coming off of him, and there's the lighting changes, and I thought, boy, that scene I could just watch on a loop because he is just like getting pounded, but he's also so indestructible that he's just like, all this is doing is enraging me more, and you are going to pay for this. So I was like, yeah, more and more that he got beat up, the more and more I knew the payoff at the end of this film was going to be awesome.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Is like one thing I really love about this is we come back to where Godzilla is just like a force of nature. Like he's indestructible, basically, even though he takes little bumps here and there. In the end, he's the one that really triumphs in that final scene where Orga like expands itself over him, trying to like take him in and reduplicate him, and he just all of a sudden you could just see the fins lighten up. I was like, oh boy, it's gonna get real. Here it comes.
Yep. You could just put the words into well, not his mouth. His mouth is full, but you could put a thought bubble above his head, insert any expletive that you would like, because there's hopefully something going on, and it's like, oh boy. So
and they did have a good quote too, because the reporter, she's like, yeah, imagine that UFO being asleep for thousands of years, and then it wakes up for a day, and then Godzilla destroys it the day after.
Right. He holds nothing back. This is his territory.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of some of the line changes in the script for the American version? How they, pulled some from like the George C. Scott from Doctor Strangelove, or George C. Scott from Patton, things like the missile going through Godzilla like crap through a goose, or oh, what was the other one? Yeah, the how many losses they were going to take. It was a line from Strangelove. I'm not saying we wouldn't get our hair mussed, and I'm just like, or Great Caesar's ghost, or got him through. I mean, some of these lines. I was watching the Japanese version, and I was like trying to remember what did she say in place of "bite me," and it was just like nothing even close.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's frustrated, but she's not. Yeah, she's not hurling insults.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing, though. America tends to really screw up the dialogue when they dub this thing. So it's like, that's why a lot of people just rather go for the original, because it does. In fact, I give credit, though, to Netflix, and I know you probably feel the same way. With -1, they did an amazing job with the dub. Like, I was really impressed with what they did with that. But all these older films, like, you're just like, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this?
They're hit or miss. Some of them are better than others.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of pictures of concept art. I just wanted to show you what you thought about some of this. Now, granted, I don't know if this is just people messing around, or if they had like a re-envisioning of maybe redoing this particular film or anything like that. But I'll just show you a couple of things here. Get your thoughts.
I've seen some of these. These are definitely, I don't know the artist, but these are definitely fan-made concepts of the 2000 suit, more upright. Of course, I've seen a lot of these at cons and such. But yeah, these are cool designs of what could have been a concept of the 2000 Godzilla.
Yeah. And of course, this looks almost like GMK a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. Repaint of the X Plus, more upright version. I think this is version 1, but yeah, giving him the blue eyes, blue dorsal fins, and kind of even, nodding back to before Godzilla, his dorsal fins would light up several different colors in history, but, typically either white or blue. So, blue always seems to be the way to go back to indicate radiation or energy, high energy. It could have been green, but I think blue was definitely the way to go. But this one being more of a fiery looking one. I also do love the fact that he hurls his atomic breath by, getting his shoulder action and neck into it. That was a great way of looking at it as a source of energy and a method of attack, because a lot of the times all Godzilla's got to do is just open his mouth, and then that's all it takes. You're in his way, you're cooked. But this one really had that idea that it takes his full body to get into it. And then -1, got his full body into it as well. The idea that
even Legendary and King of the Monsters at the end, where Ghidorah's head in his mouth just kind of did that whole like shoot it up in the sky thing.
Yep.
I always thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's got to give it a different, method of attack. But yeah, when it really comes down to it, Kitagawa, with his suit acting, kind of did it first. I can't think of another example where prior to that was his method. And it does make it more difficult for the special effects animators to add that effect when he's moving his head around a lot more. So I can imagine that Nakajima and Satsuma were kind of told to keep some of the head movements more stationary for the effects crew to add those effects. Not that they're not top notch at whatever they do, and they know the fan base and they know how to connect with their audience, but it does make it a challenge for tracking the mouth movements to get that flame breath looking correct. Now, of course, we have CGI and supercomputers that can do a lot of this tracking for you, and it's all eating.
Yeah, big time. So yeah, I know that Rob from ETN, like he kind of dislikes this design. He says it looks too much like a cat. But when we think about it, Godzilla's always kind of had like cat-like mannerisms, and even in Godzilla Empire, like he's sleeping in the Coliseum like a cat. So
Right.
I don't know. How do you feel about like some of the comparisons about his behavior as a lizard?
I think it really comes down to lizards aren't as expressive in their facial expressions. You even think of other animals that do give you facial expressions. Lizards sometimes do, but for the most part, they're instinctive. So their facial expressions, their eye movements don't really tell you what's going on in their heads. So I do appreciate the fact that going after that kind of idea of a cat, and even the 2014, largely based upon a bear, and that idea of not just his bulk but even his face design,
Yeah.
the expressive nature of the anger, the inquisitiveness, of the wheels spinning, the just utter disgust for what's happening, those kinds of things. His emotions aren't exactly complex, but cats are definitely expressive. I have a few, and yeah, they definitely hold a club when they, the what was it? The Guardian of the Underworld, Fat Tippy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that was a fun show.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brendan.
Yeah. That was so good.
Oh,
well,
man.
Thank you for taking the time out, man, to talk a little bit of Godzilla with me. I much appreciate it. Why don't you tell people if you got anything coming up on your channel they might want to check out, let them know.
Absolutely. Got some more unboxings to go. We've got some video essays as soon as I kind of get a better handle on my health, because I am also, getting up there in age, dealing with rheumatoid arthritis. I've got autoimmune conditions. It's, suddenly I felt my age when I hit 40, and then everything started falling apart. So I'm dealing with that the best I can. My family has been incredibly supportive. And we're still going to do some skits, some box days. We've got a lot of fun stuff in store for you with the unboxing of figures, but we also have some video essays, more monster trailers. We're going to get in some other monsters, obviously, other than Kaiju. We've already kind of dipped our toe in some other monsters on the monster trailers. Live streams are coming up. We've got a live stream that's going to be on location at Parker's Imaginarium in Greenville, Ohio, near where I live. It's a vintage toy store, and I'm going to speak with the owner of that store and another Ohio toy store owner, talking vintage toys. We'll talk some Godzilla, but we're all big monster fans, so we're going to have some interesting conversations, and it's a live stream, so there'll be some chance for everyone to ask questions in the chat, give us some, things that maybe we forgot about, some nostalgia. And it's like, boy, I haven't thought about that in years. That old toy or that old cartoon or that old movie. So those are great things. And I'll say it on your show right here. I would love to invite you for a live stream interview on my show with you as the special guest.
I appreciate it. Yeah, most definitely. Just let me know.
We will work that out.
I'll appreciate it again. Thank you again. Can't thank you enough for coming on here. And people, please go like and subscribe to the Monster Report on YouTube. Great channel, a lot of great content. Like and subscribe to the Meltdown Radio podcast. Let us know your thoughts on Godzilla 2000, this particular era of the Millennium Series Godzilla. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Just let us know in the comment section. And we'll see you next time on the Meltdown Radio podcast.
You see me for you.